So, would you like to play a game?
Yes.
Not again.
I've been thinking long and hard about this. So you had two successful games that were
scary.
wonderful. And I'm scared of the third game because we know Brian can't hit it out of the park 3 times in a row. And everyone has been commenting, like, if Brian does flights like this all the time, like, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at the things that have been successful for, like, not just a sequel, but a trilogy, like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, maybe The Dark Knight, Batman series. I mean, that's it.
Yep.
So, Brian, you're playing with legend status right here.
Yeah. Well, and even within those, like, one of them's kind of a letdown, right? Like even if you pick those 3, like, I think you can argue one just isn't as good as the other 2, and we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, like Back to the Future. Like, come on, number 2. No.
Oh, 2 is great. Number 3 was the letdown.
Yeah, 3.
Okay. Well,
when disagree. You like the Western, did you?
Trains versus flying cars. Come on now. All right. So, name of the game is Guess Right.
Guess left.
This just feels like where Brian has all the power. And he says, nope, you chose poorly.
Yeah.
So, your options
speaking of another good trilogy, Indiana Jones. Good job.
Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, until they came with that Crystal Skull nonsense.
I said trilogy, not quadruple, whatever 4 is.
Quadrilogy.
Quadrilogy.
All right, on to number 1. So now that we've dove in a little bit, so the Guess Right. Yes, there are some rice, and I'm looking for you guys to identify as much as you can about these, because I have actually pulled up the actual descriptions of these, and we're going to see if you can guess right on what these are.
Keeps, instead of trying to say right, trying to say right.
So you're looking for correct tasting notes? Is that what this is?
Yeah, basically correct tasting notes.
So we should get a little bit more flowery with our tasting notes. Like, oh, there was some
honeysuckle with a hint of shooting stardust.
I'm just looking
in the
for
midnight sun while I roll around in the hayfield of the meadow of lilacs.
Exactly. I'm looking for something just a little bit.
I don't want to know what you're doing while you're rolling around in them.
Were you able to identify? Is it sweet? Is it more floral? Is it more baking spice? Is it more brown sugar? Or is it, obviously some of those things.
This is another classic Brian game where it's just like rules are not properly divulged before the game.
I don't want to give it all away.
I think what he's going with is I'm trying to make the rules so ambiguous that TJ has a chance to win. Bingo. And I appreciate that, Brian.
There it is.
I could tell the last time he was very upset that I won again.
So on this, I'm getting a little bit of grass, a little bit of hay on the nose, a lot of honey, a little bit of floral notes on the palate, and then the finish is just a little bit peppery, not super peppery, and disappears quick.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get the hay notes through the palate. I might add, I still getting some citrus and maybe some pear through that palate. And then the finish to me doesn't have a lot of spicy pepper. It's almost this like a little bit of like a vanilla cream. It's a light overall. I agree with low proof. But yeah, getting like a vanilla cream that kind of lingers on.
All right. Well done, gentlemen. Well done. So,
we said enough things that we covered our bases.
Yeah, you did. You might be a little bit surprised on some of this, So they describe the nose as like a caramel, oak, vanilla, butterscotch, roasted apples.
I feel like they just named all of tasting notes that you get on a whiskey.
Yes.
That's exactly how I felt when I read that. And I was like, that seems like a half-hearted attempt at describing your notes to cover everything.
So we had this bingo container and we just pulled out tasty notes. Ooh, vanilla.
So it's
butterscotch.
So here's what's going to be great is let's see if you guys can name the distillery this came from, just based on the fact they were clearly, or maybe what this rye is, just based on the fact they were clearly trying to appeal to a wide audience. I mean, you guys already named it. It's lower proof. It's a rye. The finish has zero pop. They describe the palate as caramel, orchard fruit, which sadly Charlie identified and TJ didn't. Baking spice, vanilla, butterscotch, like all of just the traditional. They almost copy and pasted the nose onto the palate. Very generic bourbon-y description.
Well, I'm going to guess first, and I'm going to say it's a Indiana rye.
Okay.
I don't know if I get enough. Of course, if you proof it down, maybe there isn't enough rye notes there. I don't think this is 95.5. I mean, the way you were phrasing it, it seems like you were describing Basil Hayden rye.
That's true.
Watery, just made for the masses.
You guys are missing an obvious choice here.
Elijah Craig rye. Do you have an Elijah Craig rye? Okay, I was going to say, yeah.
Elijah Craig rye, 94 proof, comes in incredibly drinkable. If you want to introduce someone to Ryes that doesn't actually introduce them to Ryes, this is your go-to right here. Get them a rye that's not a rye, and I feel like you'll be really happy with this. I mean, it's sweet. It lacks a lot of the traditional rye notes. I feel like it almost tastes more bourbony. 91% rye, 35% corn, 14% malted barley. That kind of explains it. 94 proof, $30.
And I feel like the Elijah Craig rye and the Elijah Craig toasted barrel are the two perfect reasons when a company says this is going to be part of our normal portfolio, don't pay secondary for it, because they're both giant letdowns.
Yeah.
Just wait for it to be on the shelf.
Yeah. When the rye first came out, I was one of the first people to get it here in town. And so first like, oh my gosh, you got like the Elijah Craig rye. And I tried it and I'm like, I'll sell it to you.
Yeah.
Like,
for $30, go with the Old Forester standard rye.
All right. Number 2.
It's got a
comes at you a little different.
Damp hay note.
It's almost like it's finishing something.
Yeah. Like berries back there, maybe.
You get like a rich, I said vanilla cream on the last one as far as the finish, but this is like a deeper, rich vanilla in the back.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
What's that finish though? It seems like that. So this has a harsher herbal, kind of a traditional rye nose that's buffered by whatever, I think what it's finished in, but we'll see.
So I'm just going to go right off. High West.
Ooh.
Yeah, this wouldn't surprise me if this is one of their finished picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nose just comes out too strong with that floral wet hay.
Yeah, there's wet hay all the way through it, and I always get that on High West stuff. That just screams High West.
I'm going to go one of other Brian's popular choices, and I'm going 80 Laws here, because I don't get like, it's definitely a rye, but it doesn't quite have that dill pickle or wintergreen punch that what I get typically out of a 95.5 MGP rye, which is what High West would be. And we know 80 Laws is classic for some of those little bit stronger hay and straw notes through the palate. So that's where I'm going.
Okay.
I just don't get the young notes I usually get on 80 Laws as predominant. And maybe it's hidden with the finish. So,
well, and I think you guys are right on the nose, like on the back end of that nose, you just get a hint of sweetness.
And I retract my statement. I thought it was finished by the nose, but I don't. Now that you taste through the palate, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
It was just that sweetness that I was getting on that backside of that nose.
which is completely fair.
I still feel like it's finished because there's like a underlying note all the way through it that doesn't. It doesn't it complements it. It doesn't feel like it's part of it. It feels like it's an extra layer added.
If it is finished, the only ones that I have had that have kind of given me some of these notes is a rye or a rum finished rather. It gives us like a little bit of this cane note, but it's not. There's not a lot of sweet there.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see what Chuck thinks here. Like, is this drinkable to you, or is this like, yeah, okay. I'm enjoying it for the channel.
It's 80
life.
Laws. He wants you to say something positive about 80 Laws so he can record it and keep it forever.
I got you on film.
No, actually, here's why I'm asking the question. It's 100% heirloom rye.
Really?
What's the variety? What's it mean by heirloom?
I have no idea.
It's good. It's different. If you gave this to somebody, they would definitely think it's finished. I'm surprised it's not. It's a good pick.
I think I'm going to be a bit more harsh, but not surprising to Brian or anybody here. The sweet note on the nose is honestly where the good parts end. And then there's really not much that's redeemable as you get into the palate and the finish. Like, is it drinkable? Yeah, I think so. But am I going to reach for it? Nah.
Okay, let's go to number 3.
It's the most well-balanced of the 3 noses. So I still get some traditional rye notes coming through.
Agreed.
A little bit of hay, straw, which isn't unusual in a rye. And then I get the underlying sweetness. I describe it more as like a honey sweet, Brian. I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm getting like that, a little bit like almost like cherry.
You get cherry.
Yeah, definitely get a little cherry.
It goes from the nose, which is slight cherry, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to the finish, and it's just like a cherry bomb.
That's kind of interesting in the waves to me. It's like a cherry, and then a little bit of that wet straw and hay comes back, like more towards the end of the palate, and then that kind of fades into some baking spice and a little bit more cherry at the end.
And there's I would say some honey through it too.
Agreed. Yeah. Again, a rye. I feel like this one just offers a lot more sweetness. For whatever reason.
And then you get a nice, like it. Even after the finish is done, you just get that nice tingle that just keeps in the jawline. That is so delightful.
Yeah, I feel like I get just a little bit of tingle going on. Like it lingers, not a lot though, not abrasive. One thing I'd love on this finish, if I were to create, I feel like the viscosity, like I would love a little bit more like oiliness that like just coats the mouth where you just feel and really taste the aroma on this. I feel like that's the one area I'm like, if you could just get a little bit more of that.
It was a little watery through the palate. But for that mouthfeel, the finish really coats your mouth well. And so you still get this nice tingling spice that lingers. On the second sip, I was really getting some herbal floral notes coming through on the palate. So what I was thinking of is like a lavender.
Yeah. And then, on the second one, on the finish, I got a lot of hay suddenly coming through.
You're right. I mean, we talked about this sweetness. I think from the nose all the way through, I think it's more of a honey sweet to me.
All right. Number 2 coming
80
in.
Laws, 7-year.
80 Laws. 4-year.
4-year.
So this is their San Luis Valley. They did a cool thing. This is actually their Fallen Hero edition, number 2 year. So basically for the state of Colorado, they contribute to the Fallen Hero Fund. So anytime, I believe it's a police officer or any first responder dies kind of in the line of duty of their job, there's a Fallen Hero Fund in Colorado. And so 80 Laws came out with this. So of course I had to support them. And it is a delicious rye. I'm very traditional rye. If you like rye, like rye ryes, This is great. And sadly, Chuck takes it again with the 7-year bottle and bond, 80 laws. Typically, like initially I was concerned about sending both of these in the same lineup, but the two of them I just felt like were different enough that it was like, I was hoping really to throw you off. Like I figured Chuck would identify one of these as laws, but I really did not envision him doubling down on the 80 laws. But my gosh, he has their number. Just stupid Chuck. But yeah, so this is their 7-year bottle and bond. This is great. We actually had the 6-year last year. Didn't like it.
No, both are great. Both make me want to say, keep buying 80 laws. Like you keep buying 80 laws. I'm not going to continue to buy 80 laws, but you keep buying 80 laws and keep sending it once a year, because to be honest, these two and the bourbon are really good. Once again, Brian, great lineup. You hit it out of the park, 3 for 3. I sent new samples, so hopefully I can keep up with you. We will see, and we'll see you next time.
Stay neat.
Our bourbon.